Did you know there are nearly 40,000 ring forts in Ireland? People don't think about that, but imagine these ring forts give names to the local regions. So when you go to Lisdoonvarna or Lifford or go to Dunleary or Dunmore East, the word Lis, Lios, and the word Dun, Dun, both stand for fort. And these forts were built in Neolithic times, 4000 BC, by the early arrivals here of the Neolithic people who crossed the ice sheets that connected Europe to Britain to Ireland and arrived into Ireland. The ice melted and they were stuck here. We call them the Celts. Some people call them the Tuatha De Danann, the Fir Bolgs. There are lots of names for them. But eventually they became the Irish race. The people lived mainly on the coast. They lived up and down the west coast, particularly along the Burren in County Clare and along the shoreline of County Galway, County Mayo, County Donegal. You go to the Cady Fields now and they have a field system there that is 4000 BC, dated back there. So these people were smart, they were farmers, they were hunter-gatherers, eating a lot of shellfish, because when you look in their middens, that's what you find. They eventually began to tame cattle, and they became the signature of wealth. Think of the African Maasai tribesmen, those people who drink the blood of cows. Well, that's what we did. 4000 BC, we were drinking cow's blood. It was a source of renewable protein. Don't forget, why would you kill a cow when you could occasionally have a feed of blood and you mixed the blood up and you made some sort of gruel or porridge or whatever it be? Very, very good for you. Looked horrible, probably tasted horrible, but there you are. Anyway, that's what the people did. The wealth of a tribe's leader, a king, a chieftain, was in the number of cattle they had. If he didn't have enough cattle, well, you know what he did? He sent his men out and they robbed the cattle from the guy next door. The guy next door said, well, I'll not have any more of that. We had lots and lots of wars. The Táin Bó Cúailnge, the Táin, we call it the great battle of the bulls. The white bull of Connacht and the black bull of Ulster was all about cattle. The cattle raid of Cooley. Our legends are full of these stories of cows being stolen. To stop them being stolen, they drove the cows at night into corrals. Think of the word they use in cowboy westerns, corrals. The same word is used in Africa, kraal, K-R-A-A-L, a thorn bush circle to stop the lions coming in and eating their cattle. Well, in Ireland, we had bears and wolves. Imagine the Irish language has 23 words for bear. We don't have any bears nowadays. But back then, their favourite dish was a young calf. And you may be sure a wolf would take away a child or a calf or a cow. So they built these earthen berms in a circle, and that became the dune or fort. They had one entrance and they had tunnels underneath it, souterrains they called them, subterranean caverns. And in those caverns they kept food, of course. They also kept their wealth. And eventually, when those people were eliminated from the landscape by modern man in the Iron Age, they became the homes of the fairies. The fairies live in what we call the fairy forts, the ring forts. And you know what? People are really, they treat them with great reverence. They're conscious that these represent the original settlers here, and they also represent perhaps that lost power that we, the Fianna, the great people of Ireland had, where we were able to stand proud, and we had fantastic warriors and folk heroes, Cú Chulainn and Ferdia and all these people. That's what the ring forts represent. Nobody I know, no farmer certainly, would ever touch a ring fort. They've diverted roads around ring forts in County Limerick. They diverted a road around a fairy tree recently in County Limerick. They couldn't get anyone to bulldoze the tree or the ring fort. So when you're travelling through the countryside and you see a ring fort and you wonder how it survived, you know it survived because the local people minded it. It isn't managed by the government, it's managed by the local people who know that the souls and the spirits of their ancestors live on in those ring forts. And on certain nights of the year, particularly the 21st of June, the shortest night of the year, the longest day of the year, Midsummer's Night, that's the night that the fairies come out. Lots of people I know have winter and summer solstice celebrations. They're going back to the Druidic days, the days of the Celtic priests, and their sacred days are those cornerstone days between our various seasons. So we light a fire at Bealtaine and the fairies come out and dance around it. Don't ever disturb the fairy forts, because if you do, nothing surer, you or your wife or your child or your whole house will be dead in the morning, waking up dead, the worst thing you could ever imagine.